All right, folks, welcome to Hardball with Aspi, where I ask all of the hard-hitting questions that no one in this industry will have the guts or the nerve to do it. These are not going to be the kind of questions where I'm going to say, hey, tell me about your offer. What's going on in the space? What do you think of the Amazon algorithm or anything like that? For our guest today, we have Danan. Danan, tell everyone what you do, why you do it, and all that jazz. And do your knives outnumber your hats or your hats outnumber your knives? Which you have more of?
Okay, well, my knives outnumber my hats. All right, cool. So my name is Danan. I've been selling on Amazon since 2010. I've been in the software and service space for Amazon sellers since 2018. And I recently started my own agency right before, in fact, my co-host here, John, on his own show, started his agency.
Sponsored by Pepsi, Zero Sugar, Wild Cherry and Cream. So what are you doing in the space? Tell people what you're doing. And
right now,
that's really going to be the extent of your plug before we start hitting the hardball questions.
All right, fine. So I help. My biggest thing right now is that I'm helping Amazon sellers remove negative product reviews. That's one of my two core services. The other one is ASIN monitoring for critical issues.
And when you say reviews, we're talking about product reviews, not seller reviews.
Yes, that's correct. Seller reviews are easy to get rid of.
I think that's important for people to know, because like, what weighs more? When it's a product review, in my opinion, that obviously weighs more on your holistic sales and stuff like that. Because if you're doing FBA, is there really a seller review at that point?
So seller reviews matter if you're a wholesaler. Like, product reviews matter to private label people. Seller reviews matter to wholesalers.
Got it. You don't do that, right? You just focus on the product review.
Yeah, I could, but I don't see a need for it personally. Honestly, you can do it yourself fairly easily. You just need to report it. Nothing like trying to get a negative product review removed.
And we've had conversations before where we talk about, like, I know from doing this for a while, if I could get a product review removed, right, without a service like yours. I'm sure you have better ways of doing it, better SOPs and strategies and tactics and stuff. But I know, real high level, without giving away the secret sauce, I know that if someone goes in there and says on a product review, I got this and it opened up and it was leaking in the box, that could get removed, because that's not an actual review of the product. That's a review of the logistics and the shipping. And if it was FBA, you don't handle that, so that's going to get removed. Fair to say?
Well, it should be removed. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And the other one, I'm not going to give away the secret sauce. The other one, I think I can kind of
give away the secret sauce, man. Go for it.
I think I can kind of say that I know is if someone curses in it, it can get removed. Even if it's even if your product sucks and they're like, this shit is no good because of, you can get that removed because they're cursing in it. But what I have seen is if it's a product review in a different language, you can't get that. Typically, from what I've seen, you could not get that removed, even if it says something that if it was in English would be removed.
That depends on the marketplace. Like, the only two approved languages in the US marketplace are English and Spanish. So if you've got a Japanese or French or Russian or whatever review, then that's grounds for removal.
Last one. If someone just types ... can that get removed?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. That's enough out of you and your services, sir. What we're going to get into now are the hardball questions. Now, our guests do not know the questions ahead of time. The questions are not structured nicely. Everyone knows, if you're watching us, I use AI. I don't use AI as a copy and paste. I use AI as a tool in a toolbox. So imagine someone's building a house versus a house building machine versus a hammer, right? You still have to have someone skilled behind the hammer to build said house. That being said, we're going to run down some questions. Now, you can get a pass. I will allow a pass. If there's a question that you only get one out of the series of questions I'm going to ask.
What if I say no to one and then you ask me another one that's worse? I'm like, nah, I'm not answering that.
I mean, it's like Deal or No Deal, right? Or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? You've exhausted your lifelines. We have the questions here, and remember, you have one pass, and they're not structured to be nice. And that's all I'm going to say.
All right.
So you built a career helping sellers delete negative reviews, but now you're a consultant fixing Amazon's ecosystem. Isn't that like an arsonist selling fire extinguishers and calling themselves a hero?
I built a career consulting to fix Amazon's ecosystem.
No, you built a career helping sellers delete negative reviews.
Yes.
But now you're a consultant helping people with Amazon's ecosystem, whether that's reviews or something like that.
Okay,
So now,
okay.
don't you think that's a little kind of playing two sides of the coin?
Well, if you think about it, wouldn't you rather have an arsonist that also sells fire extinguishers rather than just an arsonist?
I think the world would prefer no arsonists, sir. But I think what I'm getting at from the question that Lovely, sponsored by Perplexity, has given us is that you built a career doing negative deletions of reviews, but now are you consulting only on that, or is there more that you're doing and trying to kind of, so you're doing more, right? But like, which is it? Are you helping with this? Are you giving the holistic ecosystem? Like where's the focus? Where are we helping people?
I help people where they need help,
Fair.
So not everyone, not everyone needs review removal. Not everyone needs to have their ASINs monitored. Some people just need to get an introduction to the right person to solve some sort of problem.
I think that's where it was getting it at when Perplexity was running it, was that you're doing that ASIN monitoring. And I think it's more like you're helping initially. You built it on deleting negative reviews, but now we're talking about monitoring ASINs. So it's kind of like, you're playing both sides of the fence.
Okay. So from that viewpoint, all right. So if I think of it that way, then for me as an agency, I'm creating my own audience to upsell them into my next product offering. Technically, it's not actually what I do, but you could look at it that way. Because I'm able to monitor for issues, I'm also, of course, monitoring for negative reviews or just reviews in general. Like, hey, you got a whole bunch of negative reviews. Do you want me to take a look at it? So from that viewpoint, okay, sure. All right.
So you consult for supplement brands, but you hold emergency response certification. Given 70% of Amazon supplements violate FDA guidelines, shouldn't a real crisis manager warn people about this garbage instead of profiting from it?
I'd like to warn the general public out there that roughly 70% of the supplement sellers are violating, who was it again? EPA, FDA?
The
ATF?
FDA guidelines.
FBI,
yeah.
Violating the ATF guidelines about supplements. No, honestly, I do feel.
Hang on, did you say ATF? I don't think these are firearms, sir. It's
that.
FDA.
Actually, I actually believe that a significant number of the supplement brands out there are complete crap. So my supplement brand, by the way, is not private label. This is not my brand. I have exclusivity to somebody who is in California and manufactures in California. For me, for the most part, given what I don't know about the supplement brands that are out there, is that if they're not made in America, if they're made in China, no way. No way I'm taking that, So anyhow.
I think, so what emergency response certification you hold?
FEMA. It's CERT. It's called Community Emergency Response Team, and then I have a one certification in detecting human trafficking. I live in Florida. But prior to that, when I was growing up, I lived in California. I've actually done disaster response for most of my life. I'm not crazy trained on search and rescue and jumping out of helicopters and stuff like that, though I'd love to do that.
I do it on the weekends, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's a good question to ask, though. I think if you're consulting for supplement brands and you hold those emergency response certs, it's a good question. We're going to go to the next one.
All right, fine. Bring it on.
So Amazon,
just so you know, we're talking about disaster response, not health accordance.
We're going on to the next one. You could pass on that one. Amazon nuked 20 million reviews last quarter using AI modeled on systems you helped pioneer. When do you stop hiding behind industry standards and admit you broke the review system for everyone?
I broke the review system? Okay, hold on a second. Show of hands here. Who thinks the review system was broken when it was made?
I'm just saying.
That's 100% correct.
At the end of the day, you have built a career on letting brands know how you can help them get negative product reviews removed. Even if, and cut to really quickly when we were talking about it before, even if it's a valid product review, if there's some little nuance or cadence or little kind of thing that could get it removed, you've built a business on doing so for, again, even something that technically is still a product review.
So yeah, so it can be a legitimate review for sure. But if there is enough of a violation of Amazon's community guidelines, it is eligible for removal. Doesn't mean it will happen, but let's just assume it does get removed. And so let's say it's a 3-star review and the person goes, yeah, I thought the product was okay and I gave it to my dog. Let's just call it an animal supplement. Gave it to my dog and the dog thought it was fine. But the thing is that I watched this TV show the other day, and in that I learned that I don't know, steak is not healthy for dogs, and my vet said that steak is not very healthy at all for dogs. And so let me tell you a little story about steak. Okay, the first 10% of that review was, yeah, that's legit, right? The last 90% is how giving doggy medical advice about how steak's not healthy for dogs. So is it a legitimate review? Yes, in part it is, but the rest of it is trying to give unsolicited medical advice.
Correct. And now wouldn't that technically make, if the public knew about this, which I'm sure they don't, that your service exists, wouldn't it make them a little bit more trepidatious? And I think I'm using the right word there. When leaving their product review, to make sure that they're not leaving a solid review about the product and then going off on a tangent afterwards that could lead it to potentially getting removed through the tactics you're talking about.
All right.
Wouldn't it make them a little uncomfortable?
Well, good, because I don't want to read a bunch of crap. I'm a buyer on Amazon too. As a buyer, and I am biased because I am also a seller, but I don't trust the Amazon review system for shit because it's been so overrun with fraudulent activity. And so and I would love, like you say this, but I don't have that power, but I would love to have the power to scare reviewers into leaving legitimate reviews that don't violate. However, if I had so much notoriety that I were able to do that, then of course the fraudulent reviewers would just get really sophisticated about how they do the fraudulent stuff. That's just the way it goes, unfortunately.
Got it.
If I could get my hands on some of those people, like there's been some. Never mind that.
We're gonna keep on pushing. Okay,
right, bring it on.
You own brands in the same categories as your clients. Let's cut the BS.
I manage.
Let's cut the BS. Is it your entire consultancy just a front to reverse engineer competitor strategies while collecting their checks?
Good question. No, I prefer to think of it as money laundering. Okay, so
no, but seriously, right? So, like at the end of the day, I find it a little bit of a conflict, and I'll give you an example. If I was a full service agency and I also had my own private label brand of products that I sold, I could then see what's working and what's not working for lots of other people and get basically free market research and free tactics to then go in and pivot and move and do all sorts of other things for either my brands or ones that
All right, let me turn the tables on you on this.
Go ahead.
Would you not rather have an agency that has extensive experience with supplements to bring to your brand and then also be spending their own money to determine whether some tactics work and some don't? And I'm not saying I do that because I actually don't.
Well, you asked a question. My opinion is this: if I know that a service provider that I'm working with competes in the same realm that I'm selling in, would I look at that as a pro, that they know the ins and outs better than, and they could help me in said thing because they have that skill set and experience? No, I would think, but I'm also a very suspicious, New York City kind of, I'm always in the pessimistic end of things.
Yeah, clearly your questions show through here.
I'd almost rather somebody that is agnostic, right, but has worked with brands that, I'd almost rather the talk track be, I'm a service provider and I've worked with the top 15 brands that are in your space, and I know what's working, what's not working from said experience. Versus
same thing though. If I've worked with other brands.
No, because I don't have skin in the game for those brands that I've worked with.
Yes,
right?
Yes, you would. If you're the agency, you would, because if you're not getting the job done, you're getting fired.
Fair, but I think the amount of skin in the game is a lot more when you actually are the brand owner, right? Because if I can influence different brands within the subset of that category. And you'd be like, oh yeah, this isn't working for this guy. Let me help you with this one. That's maybe 10% skin in the game. But there's more skin when you're the brand owner and then you're like, hey, this supplement not working at all, but this one's crushing it. And I can go and launch the exact same thing. And I know where they're not doing good and I can one up them with this. Just saying.
All right. So let me put it to you this way. Now, would you rather have, let's just say we both sell green tea, right? You come on board, you know that I sell green tea. I know your brand because you're my competitor. Would you rather not have a competitor also be your ally and you both increase together?
I would rather not.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm not going to take you on as a client.
And I think anyone watching should comment below that specific question. Would you rather, would you hire someone as a solutions provider or service provider that also competes in your realm? Is that a pro because they have the insight and experience and knowledge to help you all ships rise with the tide? Or is that a con?
Years, by the way.
How much?
15 years of experience.
I thought you said 50. I was going to say that's interesting. So that's interesting. I had one more hardball question for you.
All right.
But I don't think.
Come on, lay it on me.
I don't think you're ready for it. And
bullshit.
we didn't talk about this kind of before. So I don't think you're ready.
Come on. Bring it on.
Okay. My question is this. You previously were at a company where you spearheaded a lot of the review removal, and I can't say that right because I have problems. Review removal service, have since left said company and are now doing this on your own. Do you think that you can compete as a solo versus an entire org for this kind of thing? Or do you feel that you're low man on the totem pole, even though when you went there, you spearheaded the whole thing? I'm not gonna say the company, you spearheaded the whole thing, and now you're not there any longer. Does that make sense to still stay in this realm and be able to compete with an org as an individual? Or that's a big question. And I didn't even ask
you know what? I dare say that's the best question you've asked this whole time. So pass. No, I'm just
that'll conclude this episode.
So here's the thing is that I learned an extraordinary amount during that time. What was important, what wasn't important, what needed investment, what didn't need investment. And I've just taken those lessons and implemented them into my own system, my own agency. I don't have to compete with an organization. My desire is not to go into competition with the company that I helped build. It's just to provide a good service, right? And then make a living doing it. With that said, there are so many Amazon sellers. Like this is a classic case of, you could call it this way, the same way when Gatita was in on the reimbursements and a few others came in, they fought with each other. Completely needless. There are so many sellers out there. Provide a good service at a good price. That's all you need. The answer to your question is, I don't have to worry about it.
And I think it's a fair assessment because I really truly think that there's an ICP for everyone. And I think that some folks like working with orgs, some folks like working with individuals, some folks like a hybrid, some folks like in-house stuff. Right. So I think it's a good way to think about it, because if you look at it from a full service agency management standpoint, they're running the whole gamut. And what happens if someone's like, and I've seen it before, the agencies I've worked at, where they leave and they think, I could do this myself. I know everything. I want to go do my own full service agency. I've seen agency owners get pissed and, pursue that and say like, hey, you can't do that. And I've seen other agency owners, which I consider the better way to do it, is go ahead and try, right? Because the same client that's going to come to me is not going to be the same client that comes to you.
Yeah.
And it's really a blue ocean, because I've seen it happen on, you said, the reimbursement end. I've seen it happen on the full service management end, the PPC end. I mean, you could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But dude, I appreciate you hopping on. This is going to be one of many. And, I really want folks to enjoy these, because it's not the typical kind of, video stream, podcast, whatever you want to call it, because I think it's doing a disservice to anyone that wants to watch it, because there needs to be entertainment. There needs to be value.
Well,
there needs to be
train perplexity on some better questions then.
Well, that's to be said. But I think that's important because when someone's watching this, they're getting value, right? They're understanding what's being said and what's going on, but they're also getting entertainment because no one wants to hear. I've been on way too many webinars, streams, whatever you want to call it, where it's just like, hey, we got so-and-so here. What do you do? Well, I do this. And what do you think of, flavor of the week with Amazon? Well, I think it's this. Well, thanks for coming on. Where can people find you and plug you in this and what's your offer? I think that's a little bit old hat. And I think that it's a little bit more refreshing when people get hit with questions they might not be expected to get hit with and how they kind of pivot. I think it really kind of shows, character and thinking on your feet and how to pivot, because that also shows how you can help people, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't want someone that's going to, whatever service it is, it's going to fold under pressure. I don't like script reading. I get hit with I get inundated with, sales emails that are scripty. I was on a call the other day where they were talking about, I was looking to go into this Notion CRM agency thing. And I was just inquiring about it. And they went through every single thing that I know doing sales as agencies or working for agencies, the tactics, right? The, consultative, tell me more about this. And then I simply said afterwards in an email, hey, I know you booked another call. I don't want to waste your time. I've done sales before. It's just not the right time. I think it's better to go towards this. And I know for a fact that they have things like HubSpot that they're using, or, insert other variation here.
You got an automated response?
No, because they probably saw when I opened the email, right? Because they saw I opened his response, as a rebuttal. And then immediately after, I don't want to say immediately after, right? But let me say, because I want to say the exact cadence of it, right? Because what happens is if you open an email and you have HubSpot, it'll show that the person opened the email. Right. And if I didn't respond to said email, so he sent me the email as a rebuttal, 10:37 this morning. He didn't get a response to me because I'm busy doing a million things. So at 12:30, he said, hey, John, did my last email come through? Let me know if it did or didn't. I can always resend it. Now, he wasn't saying that to make sure that the email got delivered. Yeah. He was saying that because he saw in whatever tool that they're using that I opened the email and didn't respond. And he sent a follow-up message to make sure that I got said email. So again, we know the tactics. We know these kind of things. That was just an example I wanted to bring up. But Danan, thanks so much for coming today, dude. It's been a pleasure. Everyone knows that you're scamming the system and you have MacBook and cheesy, OS kind of stuff. I have those turned off, I think, for the love of God. Yes, I do have those turned off because too many times I'll be on calls with, prospects or anything or companies or agencies, and I'll make a hand gesture.
Yeah. And you get balloons or whatever.
No, but I'll make a hand gesture that'll say something that's not positive, and then balloons will come up and it just totally sucks the tone out of it. But yeah, dude, like I said, I don't want to give plugs, but where can people find you?
Ecomtriage.com.
All right, cool. Thanks so much, pal.
Thanks, dude. See ya.